And it's time for the 2018 Passage to Springandria Disc Golf Tournament at the Alexandria Town Park Disc Golf Course in Milford, New Jersey. Spring is not here just yet, as there's been a recent snowfall which is lingering its accumulations on the course and causing a major issues with players competing in the tournament today. To see how everyone manages the course with the snow on the ground, stay tuned as Disc Golf Monthly starts now. Hello and thank you for joining us for this month's edition of Disc Golf Monthly. This show takes us to Milford, New Jersey at the Alexandria Town Park Disc Golf Course, where we have some very snowy conditions as we have some lingering amounts of snow on the course from a recent snowfall. It's very muddy on the course, on the tees. It's very difficult managing the course today, but the players are doing their best here. This is a very beautiful course. It's open with some wooded areas, some major challenges here, as well as some elevations. Let's take a look at who we're going to be covering today. We're going to be covering the men's light division, and we're going to have covering a group of 3 today. Let's take a look at these players that we're going to be featuring on lead card today. And leading with a 49, we have Brandon Coppinjam, who's leading with a 49, and he's from Lananka Harbor, New Jersey. Following Brandon, we have Matt Fairfield, shooting a 52 from Morristown, New Jersey. And tied with Matt, also shooting a 52, we have Ben Hunt from Annandale, New Jersey. Well, it looks like we have a really competitive group. We have 3 new faces to the show, and this group of players that they're managing the course very well, and it's going to be an exciting second round here. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the second round at the 2018 Passage to Springandria tournament. Brad has a 3-stroke lead over Matt Fairfield. We're going to start off on basket 3. This is a par 3, 306 feet. And Brad's going to lead us off here. He's going to go with the sidearm. It's a very narrow fairway, and he makes it through. He's very close to the basket. Matt is following behind. He's also going to be going with a sidearm shot. He's currently at a 52 score. He's going to get a little too much turn, or he's going to kick off that tree about halfway down the fairway. And Ben going with a backhand. He just finds a way through. Be very close for the approach shot. He'll get his par. So Matt's going to go with a turnover sidearm shot here through that opening, and it just doesn't give him enough distance. Well, it's a tough challenge for par. And Ben just lays up. Matt is going to attempt his par attempt. He's got a long run here. He just comes up short and it bounces off the rim. And Brad records the first birdie of the round. It's an amazing drive. Here's Ben. He's taking his time. He's shooting for par. And so now, with that birdie, Brandon now has a 5-stroke lead, and Matt falls behind Ben with that bogey. We're moving on to basket 4. This is a par 3, 190 feet. This is a downhill shot. And Brandon's going to go with a sidearm. And he's just to the left of the basket. There's Ben going with a backhand once again. He gets a lot of turn on that. He's going to go into that rough. He's also going to get knocked down early by that tree. Here's Matt. He's also going with the sidearm, same as Brandon. And it's going to go very long. It's going to go beyond the basket. He's going to have a tough play back to the basket to get a birdie. Ben's just going to lay up. He'll have a drop-in putt for a par. Matt has to play back. And he goes with a straddle putt. It just goes a little far beyond the basket. Here's Brandon trying to get back-to-back birdies. And it just clanks off the rim. A little too high. And he'll make his par with a drop-in. Here's Matt playing back to the basket to save par. And he makes it. So with that, the distance between the 3 players stays the same. Brandon still has that 4-stroke lead over Ben. As we move on to basket 5, this is a par 3, 284 feet. This is an uphill shot. They're not playing from the designated teeing area that's been temporarily relocated due to a lot of mud that's around the teeing area. That's from this snow that you see that's melting. It's been a lot of play today with players. There's a lot of mud, so they moved the tee to the side. There's Matt with his drive, going with the sidearm. Last 2 drives went left a little too early. Got caught up in the vegetation, you see. Here's Matt. Matt's going to lay up. It's going to go right to the edge of the basket. Wow. And Ben almost got that putt. And Matt saves par with that putt. Fantastic job. Once again, we have pars around for the group. As we move on to basket 6, this is a par 3, 324 feet. This is a slightly downhill shot. There's a little bit of trees to avoid as you make your way to the basket. Brandon's going to go with a sidearm shot. It's not going to get enough turn. He's going to play back uphill to get to the basket. Ben going with a backhand shot. Too much turn, gets caught up in them trees. Here's Matt with his drive. Also going with a backhand. Gets a nice turn on that. And he was flirting with an ace with that. That was amazing. Ben with his second shot. He's just going to lay up to the basket. Looks like that came down a little too sooner than he anticipated. As Brandon's playing back to the basket, he's just going to lay up and get this par. Matt overshot the basket. He has to play back again. And he'll get his 3. Ben came up a little bit short with that approach shot. And he aims a little too low with that putt for par. Not to settle for a bogey. Now Brandon has a 5-stroke lead, and now it's over Matt, with Ben getting that bogey. We're moving on to basket 7. This is a par 3, 373 feet. This is also a slight downhill shot. Brandon goes to the backhand, goes right at it. And that'll put him really close to the putting distance.
You want to pull your hand in? Okay.
Here's Matt with his drive. As you see, the teeing area has been expanded a little bit due to muddy conditions.
All right.
Matt goes with the backhand drive.
How are those things working?
Looks like it didn't turn enough for him to get close enough to the basket that he would have liked to. Here's Ben with his drive. He's going with a backhand shot. He was trying to get that to turn over, and it just didn't do that enough for him. It faded out and went left on him. He has to play back to the basket. Looks like he's close to, looked like he's actually landed on 8's fairway. He's playing back. He got caught up in that tree. Here's Brandon for his birdie. And that was just right on target. And that is Matt's first birdie of the round. Here's Brandon going for his second birdie. And he makes it. And he'll keep that 5-stroke lead over Matt. As we have 2 birdies and a bogey with Ben. Back-to-back bogeys for Ben. As we move on to basket 8, this is a par 3, 228 feet. Not much to contend here. You just have a small groupings of trees. Brandon's going to go with another sidearm shot. He's going to go right through that gap. Wow, he just made it right through that small grouping of trees. He's on his way to 3 birdies in a row. Here's Matt with his drive. He gets a little too high in the air, and that comes down way too early for him. And Ben with his drive gets way too much turn on that, but he does get a friendly kick back out onto the fairway. Let's see how his approach shot works out for him. And he just hit that tree. And Ben hits the same tree. There's Matt putting for par. He just doesn't get enough on it, and it clanks off that chain. Ben's trying to save par here. He's trying to get off that bogey train he's on. And he just doesn't get enough pressure on the chains, and it bounces out. This will be 3 bogeys in a row for Ben. As Brandon rather, gets his 3rd birdie of the round. Now he advances to a 6-stroke lead over Matt. As we move on to basket 9, this is a par 3, 289 feet. It's a slightly uphill shot. The basket is tucked off to the right. And Brandon gets about halfway up the fairway, a little over halfway up the fairway. He's in that little grouping of trees on the edge of the fairway. And you see Matt with his drive. He just goes with a straight shot up the gut. It's kind of low.
Yep.
And here's Ben with his drive. And he goes with a backhand turnover shot that just fades out again. Some of his drives are just not getting enough. And he goes with a turnover shot that just fades out on him. Here's Matt with his second shot. He's just going to approach to the basket. And it's going to sit there. It's a nice up for him. Here's Brandon with his approach shot. And he has a nice approach shot as well. Ben's trying to save par with this shot, or bogey rather, and he makes it. But he's still on that bogey train. That's 4 bogeys in a row for Ben. And Brandon saves par. And Matt also saves par. So we're moving on to basket 10. This is a par 4, 558 feet. This is the only par 4 hole on the course today. Brandon slides and slips and falls as he releases. You may have a hard time finding that disc. It's a white colored disc and that landing in that snow. Here's Matt with his drive. And Matt goes with a backhand. Let's see if that turns for him at the end. And that turned very nicely for him. And goes with another backhand shot that just fades out on him at the end. Brandon's going to approach with the sidearm. He's throwing that light colored disc again. Let's hope he doesn't lose it in the snow this time. There's Ben with his second throw. And he lets that get away. That turns way over for him. He's going to have to play out of the rough with his next shot. And Matt is at the edge of the rough. He goes with the sidearm. And he goes a little bit beyond the basket, but that plays up nicely for him. Here's Brandon with his approach shot. He's just looking to lay up and get his par. Ben's playing out of the woods, and he gets struck down early. There's Matt shooting for birdie. And he makes it. That's a second birdie for Matt. And Ben gets another bogey. That's par, birdie, and a bogey. As we move on to basket 11, this is a par 3, 270 feet. It's pretty much an open shot. You just have to stay out of them trees off to the right of the basket. Looks like Matt went into those trees. He's got to play out of it. Here's Brandon with his drive. Brandon gets a decent amount of turn on that. He would have went into those woods as well, but he found a lucky branch and knocked him down. He's right in the middle of the fairway. Here's Ben with his drive. It's going with a turnover shot. Let's see if it fades out on him. No, it looks like it held on long enough. He may be putting for a birdie with that. We'll have to see how much distance he got as Matt plays out, and he lays up perfectly. Ben doesn't get as much distance as I thought he did, but he'll lay up. He'll get his par from there. Looks like he's going to get off that bogey train. Here's Brandon. And Brandon just misses for a birdie. And that finishes our front 9 with Ben finally getting off that bogey train. Brandon has a 6-stroke lead over Matt as we finish this group's front 9. We're moving on to basket 12. This is a par 3, 180 feet. This is a downhill shot. Just have to make sure you don't overshoot the basket, and there's just a very tight fairway here. And Matt chooses his lane. Looks like that'll get him down there for a putt. Brandon's going for a sidearm shot here. Looks like he's going up that opening to the left. And he hits that perfectly. And that's just going to go right down to the basket. And here's Ben. Going with the backhand once again. Goes down the same lane that Matt went through. See how close that puts him. And Matt gets his third birdie of the round. That's a fantastic putt. And Brandon gets his fourth birdie of the round. So everyone scores a birdie on this hole. As we move on to basket 13. This is a par 3, 165 feet. So this is an uphill shot, just playing in the opposite direction of the last layout. Matt goes with an uphill shot. Looks like he kicked off a tree, but that was a perfect kick. It got him right to the edge of the pole. Here's Brandon with his drive. He's going with the backhand. He also kicks off a tree, but looks like that didn't kick him too far away from the basket. And here's Ben with his drive. It's a little low, but he's going to skip up. And he's right about maybe a 15-footer. Ben's shooting for birdie. And he smacks the change, and he gets his birdie.
It is. Yeah, I love Joe Miss.
And that's his first birdie of the round. As Brandon gets his fifth birdie of the round. And Matt just has a drop in for his fourth birdie of the round. Now we're moving on to basket 14. This is a par 3, 303 feet. This is an open shot. There's just a little bit of downhill elevation to contend to as you get down the fairway. Brandon's drive. He's throwing that light colored plastic once again.
Yeah, that might be it, yeah.
Strategy, boys.
And then with his drive, he gets that a little low. He's not going to get a lot of distance with that. His approach shot, he turns that over nicely. That should get him an easy 3. Here's Matt with his second shot. Just goes to the backhand. It's like going to turn nicely for him. He should be able to make his par from there. Here's Brandon with his second throw. And it looks like he made a little run at it. Here's Ben for his par. And he makes it. Brandon's also shooting for par. And Matt just has a drop in, so we're going to get pars around here. So now we're moving on to basket 15. This is a par 3, 274 feet. This is another largely open shot, just a little bit of downhill elevation to contend with. There's a little bit of trees hanging off to the right, as you can see. Matt has the box, and he just got enough turn off that. Got pretty far down the fairway. There's Brandon going with the sidearm shot again. He gets a decent amount of turn off that. It's going to fade nicely. Ben's once again going with a backhand shot, and looks like that was turning over. It looked like it struck something and knocked it back. Here he is with his approach shot. Looks like that faded a little too early for him. Here's Matt with his birdie shot. And it just drops too soon. But he will get his par. There's Brandon for his second shot. And he makes it. That is now Brandon's 6th birdie of the round. He's really running away with it now. And Ben saves par. So now Brandon has a 7-stroke lead over Matt, as Matt taps it in for par. And Ben is trailing Matt by 5 strokes. As we move on to basket 16, this is a par 3, 297 feet. So this is a slight uphill shot. Basket is just up, just before that tree line you see in front of you. Brandon's again going with a sidearm shot off the tee. You see the tees are very messy. With this snow melting, and a lot of players out here today in this tournament, it's causing a lot of issues with very muddy tees, very slippery. And Ben with his drive, he just puts it high in the air, and it's fading out.
If I brought extra shoes for the 2-hour ride.
That's going to fade a little too early for him. Here's Ben with his approach shot, and that's right on target. That'll give him a par. Here's Brandon looking for another birdie. And he just poured that right in. Brandon records his 7th birdie of the round with that putt. Amazing.
Yeah, buddy.
And that also gets a birdie. As we move on to basket 17, this is a par 3, 340 feet. It's a layout where the basket just hugs the tree line. This is preferable to a sidearm thrower or someone with a backhand with a very nice turnover drive capability. And Brandon just lays up right to the edge of the basket. Matt is also going with a sidearm shot. It's getting a little too much turn. It took him away from the basket a little bit. Ben's going with a turnover shot. Puts that high in the air. And then again, it fades out on him a little bit at the end. Looks like he didn't get as much distance as he wanted. And Brandon records another birdie. That's 8 birdies for Brandon. Now we see if Ben can make a second birdie of the round. Oh, it just spits out on him. Brandon records his 5th birdie of the, Matt makes his 5th birdie of the round. We don't have much more to go here. And we're on the basket 18. This is a par 3, 210 feet. Brandon once again going with a sidearm shot off the tee. He just gets a little turnover shot, fades nicely at the end, takes him right back to the basket.
Better, huh?
Looks like he's looking to get that 9th birdie with that drive. Matt pretty much goes the same
Go
route.
in.
Get it.
See, he's on his way to get his 6th birdie of the round. And Ben's the only backhand throw of the group. Gets a little too much turn off that, and it just kicks right off that tree. There's Ben's approach shot. Here's Ben shooting for par. Matt shooting for his 6th birdie of the round. And he gets it. And here's Brandon with a drop in for his 9th birdie of the round. Amazing. So we're moving on to basket 1. This is a par 3, 319 feet. This is a slightly downhill shot. Small group of trees that you see right in front of you that you have to kind of play around to get to the basket. Brandon goes with a very wide backhand shot. You're finally seeing him throwing a backhand shot off the tee. Here's Matt going with the backhand as well. Takes an even wider turn. And here's Ben.
Flip.
So Matt came up a little short with that drive. He's playing back a little bit of distance here to get to the basket. And he's right there. Here's Brandon with his 2nd shot. A little bit of distance to contend with to get his birdie. And it's just falls a little too short too soon. And Matt loses a stroke again to Brandon with that bogey. As we move on to our last hole, this is a par 3. This is basket 2. It's a par 3 at 178 feet. It's an uphill shot with a very tight fairway. You see you have to play through. You see the basket up there, just right up the fairway. There's a small clearing, and then there's a little more trees you have to contend with as you get up there. Once again, Brandon goes with a sidearm shot. And here you have Ben with the backhand, and he just kicks off one of those trees. But it does get him on the edge of the fairway. Matt going with the backhand. And that was the best drive out of the group. Ben just... Probably the only time this round we've seen Ben throw a sidearm shot. And we have Brandon is going for his 10th birdie of the round. And he makes it. Strong finish for Brandon with that birdie. 10 birdies. Amazing. Here's Matt with his birdie attempt, which I think we're going to get to see Ben first. Ben shooting for par. And he makes it. Here's Matt shooting for birdie. And it just spits out. Does not stay in. And that'll do it for our second round coverage of the 2018 Passage to Springandria tournament. Brandon puts on a fantastic performance, leading by 10 strokes at the end of the round here. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And there you have it. Brandon absolutely killed it in his division today, finishing with a 94, finishing with double digits, and avoided going into triple digits for the first time in the finish in his entire disc golf career. Congratulations to Brandon. He walked away with 10 birdies during this round. Very fantastic finish. Behind him, Matt. Matt struggled, got some couple bogeys early on, but he just didn't get enough birdies to catch up to Brandon, and he finished 10 strokes behind him with a 104. Ben also struggled. He had 5 consecutive bogeys on the front 9. He finally managed to pull it together a little bit on the back 9. He got 2 birdies back to back, but then beyond that, he could just only manage par. But some fantastic playing by these 3 players today on this fantastic course. That's all we have for this month's edition of Disc Golf Monthly. Please join us again next month for another edition of Disc Golf Monthly, the show that takes you one step closer to the sport of disc golf.